This is Story Recapped. Today, I'm going to explain a sci-fi mystery thriller film called Signs. A family living at a farm has their lives turned upside down when strange crop circles appear in their cornfield. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Graham awakens early in the morning, sensing something isn't right. Meryl, Graham's younger brother, also bolts out of bed, sensing the same thing. The brothers run outside and hear Graham's children's voices coming from the cornfield. The pair runs to investigate and finds Graham's daughter, Bo. They keep looking and find Graham's son, Morgan, staring at something in the crop field. Graham investigates further and finds their dogs, Isabel and Houdini, running around in a crop circle that has mysteriously appeared in the middle of their field. Graham later makes a call, trying to find out if Lionel and his gang, the local troublemakers, were responsible. He then finds Bo and Morgan, and they tell them that Houdini is sick as he's peed in the kitchen. Caroline, the local sheriff, makes a visit, and Graham explains what had happened. Outside, Morgan is making barbecue, and he approaches Bo. Bo tells Morgan the water she's drinking is contaminated. Morgan brushes it off and tells her to give it to Houdini, but Houdini suddenly snaps and bares his fangs. Graham shows Caroline the field, and she notes the crop formation is beyond Lionel's skills. She also informs him of reports of animals behaving strangely, some becoming violent. Graham suddenly notices the farm is too quiet, and he heads back. They find Morgan and see that he had stabbed Houdini in the neck. Morgan explains that Houdini was acting crazy and was trying to kill Bo. He holds back tears as he takes a dose from his inhaler. Graham then takes Bo into the house and tells Meryl to tie up Isabel. Later that night, Graham finds Bo in his bedroom, telling him there's a monster outside her room, and she asks for water. Graham dismisses it as a nightmare and asks her why she didn't drink the water on her night table. She then tells him it tastes weird. He takes her back into bed, and Bo asks if Graham talks to Colleen, Bo's mother and Graham's late wife. He tells her he does it to make himself feel better, but tells Bo Colleen doesn't talk back. Bo tells him Colleen doesn't answer her too. Graham then looks out the window and sees a figure standing on their roof. He wakes Meryl, telling him Lionel and his gang might be outside. They plan to catch them and begin running in opposite directions while shouting. When they meet, they spot something on the roof, and Meryl asks if Graham is sure it's Lionel. It then jumps over to them and runs into the cornfield. Caroline is back the next day, and Morgan plays with her walkie-talkie. She promises to get him an extra walkie-talkie from the station and advises him to use Bo's old baby monitor in the meantime. Graham tells Bo to get to bed, handing her a glass of water. Bo refuses, saying all the glasses on top of the TV have dust, hair, or germs. Graham then takes the glasses away, but notices there are more all over the house. Graham joins Caroline and Meryl back in the kitchen, and they begin retelling what happened. Unfortunately, the brothers can't give any description other than the intruder being big and fast. Meryl then points out that he's a pretty fast runner, but even when he was running at full sprint, he still didn't catch up with whoever it was. Bo then disturbs them, asking for the remote. She mentions all the channels are showing the same program. They all get curious and head to the living room to watch the TV. They see a number of reports regarding the sudden emergence of hundreds of crop circles in different countries. An expert explains that crop circles started in the 70s after a sudden interest in extraterrestrial life, but these quickly disappeared after being dismissed as hoaxes. The crop circles appearing now, he claims, are wholly different, and due to the amount and speed at which they formed, he surmises that they could be legitimate. Graham then walks Caroline out. She advises him to take the family and head to town to get their mind off things. Graham takes the advice and later takes the kids and Meryl into town. They split up, and Graham tells him to meet back at the pizza parlor in a few minutes. Bo and Morgan head to a bookstore where Morgan looks for books about extraterrestrials. Graham heads to a pharmacy to get asthma medicine for Morgan, while Meryl heads to an army recruitment office. At the pharmacy, the teenage attendant asks Graham if the world is ending and asks if she can have a chance to confess her sins. Graham tells her he hasn't been a reverend for months, but the girl continues. At the army recruitment office, Meryl speaks with the soldier in charge, and he tells him the army has been receiving reports of strange shadows and figures lurking around the town. The soldier tells Meryl the aliens are probably doing reconnaissance to prepare the other forces for arrival. Meryl shrugs it off, but the soldier suddenly recognizes Meryl as a famous local minor league baseball player. Meryl confirms this, saying he still has the bat that set the record for the farthest home run. The soldier then asks why Meryl isn't a pro player yet. Lionel, who's also at the office, then interrupts the two, saying Meryl also has the record for most misses. Meryl also confirms this but says it felt unnatural not to swing the bat. At the bookshop, Bo asks the seller for a different glass of water. Morgan tells the lady not to bother as Bo has a quirk about her drinking water which she's had since she was a baby. Morgan then buys the book on extraterrestrials. The family later meets up at a pizza parlor and they see a man, Ray, getting into his car. Bo asks who the man is but nobody answers and they all keep staring. Ray then speeds away and they continue eating. The family arrives home and Morgan gets a signal on Bo's baby monitor. He asks if it could receive signals from the aliens, but Graham and Meryl dismiss him. Meryl tells him the crop circles are just hoaxes, created by nerds who had too much time. Morgan hands the baby monitor to Graham but asks him to be careful as they could lose the signal. As they exit the car, the baby monitor suddenly makes a sound, and they all stop. Meryl asks for the baby monitor and as Graham hands it over, it catches another transmission. Graham is still in denial, but Meryl gives in, telling Graham not to move as they could lose the signal. Bo and Morgan climb on top of the car as Morgan tries to get better reception. Morgan says he can hear two aliens talking, but the signal cuts off. That night, Graham goes to feed Isabel, but Isabel is barking furiously at the cornfield. He takes a flashlight and enters the cornfield to investigate. He senses something moving around in the foliage and he gets to a clearing. Believing it's just someone messing with him, he starts shouting, saying he's not going to report the crop circles to the news or media, but they won't get the attention they want. He starts making his way back but gets spooked and drops his flashlight. When he manages to get it back on, he sees an oddly long leg stepping into the shadows. He bolts away, running back to the house. He gets back in and everybody sees he's startled. He then tells them to turn the TV on. The news shows strange lights coming from what appears like a massive object hovering over Mexico City. The family stares in awe, unable to comprehend what they're seeing. The kids fall asleep and Meryl and Graham talk. Meryl asks if the world is ending, and Graham says he thinks so. Meryl is disappointed by Graham's answer and asks Graham to pretend as if he were still a pastor, asking him to give comforting words. Graham then tells him that in situations like these, people usually break down into two groups, those who believe in coincidences and those who think that everything happens for a reason. For the first group, they see the lights and think it's a coincidence. Nothing has a hand in it, and the lights are evidence of impending doom. This fills them with fear. However, the second group sees the lights and believes that this is preordained and they'll be saved. They look at the lights and they see it as a sign, a miracle that someone is watching over them. This fills them with hope. Graham then asks Meryl if he believes in coincidences or in miracles. Meryl then narrates a time when he was at a party with a girl. When they were about to kiss, he realized he had gum in his mouth. He turned to get rid of the gum, and when he got back to the girl, she had thrown up. It was at that moment he started believing in miracles because if he hadn't taken out his gum, they could have been kissing when she threw up. He laughs, saying he sees the lights as a miracle. He then asks Graham what he believes in. Graham says it doesn't matter as he succeeded in comforting Meryl. He then tells Meryl about Colleen's last words. He says Colleen's last words were "See, swing away." Meryl asks what it means, and Graham says she only said those because the nerve endings in her brain were firing rapidly as she died. A random memory of Meryl playing baseball popped into her head. Graham found it difficult to find meaning in Colleen's final words. It was at that point he started losing his faith. He then declares that no one is watching over them. They are all on their own. A flashback then shows Graham when he was still a reverend, arriving at a place where an accident occurred. Caroline tells him that Ray had fallen asleep and hit Colleen. Graham asks which ambulance she's in, and Caroline tells him Colleen isn't in an ambulance. The following day, Graham finds Meryl in a storage room obsessing over the news. He then finds Bo and Morgan reading the extraterrestrial book. According to the book, the aliens are here to either explore the universe or to invade the planet for resources. Graham flips through the book and sees a farmhouse eerily resembling their own. He sees 3 bodies, an adult and 2 children, sprawled out on the side. The phone suddenly rings, and Graham answers it, hearing only one word. He then decides to go to Ray's house as he believes it was Ray who called. He gets to Ray's place and finds Ray in his car. He approaches and sees the car is packed with luggage. Graham asks what happened, and Ray tells him he'd been wanting to call him for a long time. He says something entered his house, and he panicked. He says Graham's number was the only number he could think to call. He talks about the accident and tells Graham he had been exhausted from work that day. He says there were no cars or people on the road. Had he fallen asleep a few seconds earlier, he wouldn't have hit Colleen. He fell asleep at the exact location where Colleen had been walking, saying it's as if it's meant to happen, implying that it didn't feel like a coincidence. Graham asks where he intends to go, and Ray tells him he's going to a lake. He observed that the crop circles are located in places far from water. He surmises the aliens dislike water. He says he finds his situation hopeless, as he believes he'd be going to hell when he dies because he caused Colleen's death. He then apologizes for the accident and for making Graham lose his faith. Finally, Ray tells Graham he trapped an alien inside his pantry before speeding away. Back at the farmhouse, Meryl sees first-hand footage of one of the aliens walking past an alley. Graham enters Ray's house and finds the pantry barricaded. Graham speaks, saying he's a police officer and other officers are on their way. Graham believes whatever's trapped in the pantry is just a hooligan messing around in the town. Graham tries to get a look at whoever's on the other side with a knife but fails. He decides to leave, but his curiosity gets the best of him and he returns. As he tries to get a look, a hand reaches for him. He gets startled, takes the knife, and chops off the alien's fingers. He gets back home and tells everyone about the encounter. He advises they move to the lake too, but the others refuse. Graham is outvoted and they decide to board up the doors and windows to prepare for the aliens. News reports later show that more ships are being spotted around the world. The ships happen to be appearing within a mile of crop circles, and there are reports of aliens using poisonous gas to kill people. They board up most of the doors and windows but run out of wood. Meryl suggests having dinner and Graham tells them they can have whatever they want. At the dinner table, Morgan suggests they say a prayer, and Graham sternly refuses. Morgan says he hates him for letting Colleen die. Graham gets angry and tells everyone he won't waste his time praying. He begins hoarding the food and eating everything while the kids cry. He soon starts crying and Morgan gets up to hug him. Bo joins in and Graham pulls Meryl to join them. They all sob and cry together, realizing the night could be their last. The baby monitor then starts ringing. They start hearing noises and footsteps from outside, then from the roof. They then decide to head to the basement. Graham guards the door as Meryl looks for something to jam the door with. He finds an axe but accidentally hits the light bulb. Morgan finds a flashlight, but Meryl looks around the basement. Graham notices the aliens are only making noise outside the door and aren't trying to get in. They realize that it's only a distraction and the aliens could be trying to find a different way in. Meryl and Graham use flashlights to look for an old coal chute and converge on the backside of the basement, finding Morgan. Suddenly, an alien hand grabs him. Chaos ensues, and when things calm down, Bo sees Graham trying to calm Morgan down as he's having an asthma attack. Graham tries his best to calm Morgan down and he manages to slow down Morgan's breathing. Another flashback shows Graham back at the accident. Caroline tells him that Colleen had been pinned between Ray's truck and a tree, and they couldn't pull her out as it would instantly kill her. Graham realizes that this would be the last time she'd get to speak with Colleen. Morning comes and Meryl and Graham hear from the radio that the aliens are leaving. Meryl says they left in a hurry and some of the wounded were abandoned. They decide to head out as Morgan desperately needs his medicine. They find the house ransacked but empty. Graham places Morgan on the sofa and gets the TV. When he gets back, an alien is holding Morgan hostage, threatening to release a deadly poison gas from his wrist. Meryl, Bo, and Graham all stand in horror, watching the alien cradle Morgan. Graham is once again back at the accident, and he gets to Colleen. As Colleen lays dying, she tells Graham her final words. She says to tell Morgan to keep playing his games and tell Bo to listen to Morgan as he'll protect her. He tells Graham to see, and finally, she says to Meryl to swing away. Graham finally makes sense of his wife's dying words. She was telling him to see the signs, to see that there are no coincidences. Graham looks around the room, and his gaze stops at Meryl's bat, and just as Colleen had said, he tells Meryl to swing away. Meryl realizes what he means and immediately grabs his bat. The alien releases its poison, and Meryl takes a swing. Graham grabs Morgan and Meryl keeps hitting the alien. It falls and water gets spilled on it. Upon contact with the water, the alien's skin gets burnt and starts melting. Meryl and Graham then look at all the glasses of water Bo had been leaving around the house, and Meryl realizes he has more than enough to get the advantage. Graham takes Morgan out and injects him with an EpiPen shot. Meryl takes one final swing at the alien and it gets bathed in water, effectively killing it. Outside, Graham is hoping the alien's gas didn't get into Morgan's lungs as he was having difficulty breathing. He's convincing himself that Morgan having asthma couldn't be a coincidence. Morgan starts talking and they're all relieved. Morgan asks if someone had saved him and Graham says he believes someone did. Time passes and Graham is seen getting dressed, preparing to head back to church.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.